Broadway traffic streaming light. She came from California, running from daylight into this endless electric twilight. And when she dies, a ghost is born, singing, get up, get up, get up, get up out of your memories, get out of the sunlight, get out of that sleeping western town. Got a little bit of running for you now. Got a little way to run.
Welcome to the Sunshine Spotlight, and I am so happy. I was just talking about it before we started recording to see my friend, co-host of the Underwater Sunshine podcast, producer and originator of the Underwater Sunshine Festival, and of course, lead singer and songwriter for Counting Crows, Adam Duritz.
The crowd goes wild.
How are you?
What's up, my brother? How are
Man, you look good. You look good. The place looks good. I was just telling you, it's my second home and I miss it.
And we miss you, man.
Thanks.
Got to get back to it.
True. Let's get that right out of the way. So this is the first time you and I are doing anything on the internets together in a while. So the podcast is still up in the air, but I think we're going to start recording soon, mainly because you have been besieged with press requests from the brand new record, Butter Miracle Sweet One. Congratulations. But
Thank you.
So we're thinking maybe we'll try to squeeze in some dates soon. So you might hear some podcasts sooner than later.
Yeah, we got to start really soon.
Yeah. I know how much you put into the research of this whole thing. First of all, again, congratulations on the record. Was so lucky to be on the ground floor of a lot of this. You and I met with me, being one of those press guys, interviewing you for new records, but I had a unique experience. One, you would be in contact with me the entire time you were in England writing these songs. Then you brought the songs back in their very skeletal version on piano. Then I watched them come alive in the studio. Talk about that process for you for this record specifically, from the beginning, from writing in England, and then getting in with the guys and creating it.
Well, I hadn't written in a long time, and I wouldn't really say it was writer's block. I just feel like I wasn't writing. I just kind of wasn't that interested in it. But I was over in England for a while on this farm, pretty isolated, sometimes with my friend and his family, sometimes with Zoe. A lot of the time by myself, just me and two dogs and miles of, forest and hills. I kind of started feeling like I wanted to play piano. So I rented a piano, had a friend drive it down from London, and started playing a little bit. I don't know, after a couple days, maybe, Tallgrass kind of popped out. The Tallgrass, that song. And when I finished writing it, it was about a day later, maybe a couple days. I was playing it back to myself, and I was kind of vamping at the end of the song. It's just these two chords going back and forth. And the lyric is, I don't know why. I was just kind of singing it and playing around with stretching it out. And all of a sudden I changed to a different pair of chords. It sounded really cool. I really liked it. And then I just sort of sung this line off the top of my head. Bobby was a kid from around the town. And I thought, oh, that's cool. And then I sort of thought, I think that's a different song. That's not an extension of this song. That's another song. And then I thought, wow, I could write a series of songs where the end of one was the beginning of another, just like that. It flowed right out of it. That would be really cool. That sounds like a lot of fun. That could be really an interesting challenge, And I got really excited about it. And just kind of from that point on, I was sort of feverish about writing, I wrote 4 songs. This is like August, September of 2019. We had just played at Outside Lands in San Francisco, and I after that went to we were done touring, and I went to England. And so it's sometime in the next month or so after that, I started writing all the stuff, wrote some more in October. I had 4 songs, and then I ditched one of them because I realized it was just ripping off some Elvis Costello song. And when I came back in January to England again, I wrote Bobby and the Rat Kings, which is the end of the suite. And then, I just really wanted, that's the thing. That's kind of why I don't write sometimes, because I don't always want to deal with, I love writing. I love recording. I love making records. I'm not as hot on everything that goes into putting them out. That can be a hassle, just, it's not the same experience sharing it with the world as it is just taking care of it yourself, and, so I think, but I also know that as soon as I start writing, I get in a fever. I want to write more and I want to record, and, then you got to put a record out. So I think I was avoiding that whole process. But at this point, I'm full bore. I want to record. And so we go into the studio in, I think, the last week of February, or maybe one of the last couple days of February. I'm not sure. Went to the studio in Brooklyn, just 5 of us at first, me, Jim, Millard, Immer, and Charlie. And the plan was to just spend 2 weeks without the clutter of having 3 guitar players around, and then take a quick 2-week break. Everybody goes home, and then Dan and Dave would come in, put the rest of the guitars on, and we would mix it, right after that. Right. So we had it all scheduled out, and it went really well. Those first 2 weeks were great. We had 85% of the record done, just missing like background vocals and those guitars. Everything else was really finished. My vocals were done. It was really just like, what are we doing with background vocals? And we got to get those guitars. And then those last few days in the studio, we're watching the news, and
yeah, I was there for one of them. That's
things
crazy.
are going wrong in the world. Clearly, the president of the CDC talking about people not getting off boats, and it's clearly building. And when we took that 2-week break, the quarantine slammed right down on us. So we couldn't finish up with the guitars. So we were stuck for a couple months, 2 or 3 months. And I guess finally we decided this isn't going to be clearing up anytime soon. And we don't want to leave the record forever because it was driving us crazy. Well, the one thing we did get done during that period of time is that I called Dave Drago up.
Right, I was going to mention Dave.
Drago,
yeah.
Who used to be in the band Tallahassee and is a producer, has his own studio up in 1809 Studios in Rochester.
Yep.
And he has produced the last few things by Sean Barna, and I've sung on all of them. And specifically, because I hadn't sung on Evening at Macquarie Park yet at that point, but I had sung on Sissy, and I had been really blown away by the background vocals on Sissy, all of which, except for me, were by Dave Drago. And they really knocked me out. They gave it this kind of glam flavor that I really loved. And it was a big part, I think, hearing that record and those background vocals was a big part of what was in my head when I wrote these songs. And it was a part of the flavor I wanted. And so when I was stuck with nothing to do, like in April or May, I called up Dave Drago and said, I'm going to send you this whole record that we've done so far. And then I'm going to send you all the Pro Tools stuff. Let's do the background vocals together. So for the next month, he and I back and forth over Zoom and over the phone and over email did all the background vocals. Well, I should say we discussed them together. He did them. So other than a few that are sung by Emmy, he's 90% of the background vocals on this record are Dave Drago, and he did an incredible job. And it really makes this record the flavor that it is in a lot of ways. So anyways, but then in July, or late June, we had finally realized we weren't going to be able to bring Dave and Dan in. So Dave has a studio at his place outside Seattle. So he did his guitars there. Dan did his with a friend who lives near him in San Francisco at his home studio. And they sent them to us. They just emailed them to us. And then Brian Deck, our producer, and Neil Strout, our engineer, they drove in from Chicago so that we could avoid them flying.
That's cool.
And we found a studio a couple blocks away from here, so we didn't have to take any Ubers, and we all lived here, and I cooked for everybody, so no one had to go out, and that was the rule. There was no fucking around, no going out and doing shit. Immer stayed at his house because it's only a few blocks away. The rest of them, we all stayed here, and I cooked for all of us, so we had food during the days too. And then we just laid those guitars in. We had maybe 5 days. We laid the guitars in and mixed all the songs, and then we cut it together. It was pretty wild because this whole idea of a suite that flows one song into another,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I planned it and I composed it that way, but it's still all just in your imagination. There's nothing to hear. You can't really hear it. Even Palisades Park, when I wrote it, I could hear how that song worked because it was on my piano.
Yeah, right. It was. And you had direction into that.
Yeah.
When you did the demo.
This one, I mean, I knew it should work and I planned for it to work, but you know, you don't really know until it's there. And, you know, even when we recorded them, we recorded like each song we'd go to the end of the song and then into the next song for a couple lines, and then we would stop. So we played them all to flow through, and we actually had to go back later and put endings on them because we were like, we should probably have endings on these songs because they went into the next song each time, and if they're going to clip, maybe they want to play on Spotify and actually like ring out. Like when you hear Elevator Boots now. So we went back and
I was wondering about that because I heard Elevator Boots on the radio yesterday, and it ends. And my version that you had sent me when you were kind enough to share it is just like, it's an abrupt cut. So you went back and
straight into Angel 14th Street. So we actually went back. I mean, it's funny because we really played it like it was going to flow. We had to go back and stick the endings on the songs, like play versions that went and then dum.
That's cool.
So it's kind of like the opposite of the way you normally do it. But until that day when we finished mixing the last song, Bobby and the Rat Kings, and we cut them together and made the suite, and then we listened to it. And that was like the coolest moment of my life. I mean, because I had just been holding it in my imagination all this time, you know, and hoping, and it was such a challenge and undertaking. And, you know, you want it to be magic, but it might not be, you know, it's like, I know you can do that. Because, you know, like Brian Wilson made a career of doing it after like Pet Sounds, you know, he really, all of Smile is like that, but it was cool. I mean, and it was there, and it was so amazing to hear it. Like, it might be one of the most satisfying moments of our entire career for me. Like,
the band never sounded better. I mean, on Elevator Boots alone, I mean, the bass playing on that is incredible. Jim Dogg's killing it. Millard, of course, on bass. The piano playing by Charlie on this record. It's not Millard on that? That's Immer?
It's Millard on guitar. Oh. Because we were struggling with that song, and it just sounded terrible. And we couldn't figure out what it was. The feel was all wrong. I hated singing over it. It just didn't sound right. You know, we started out with Immer on acoustic. We didn't use the electric guitars first. We had Immer on acoustic and Millard on bass, and it just didn't feel good. And then at one point, Millard, I guess Immer got kind of frustrated and said, I don't know, I'm not getting the feel for this. Let me try bass. I have an idea for bass that might work. And Millard's like, okay, I'll take the guitar. And he picked up the acoustic. And it was like, Immer just didn't have the feel on acoustic. I don't know why. He just didn't have it. Millard just nailed the feel of the acoustic guitar on this song. And it was, as soon as he started doing that, and then like Immer really responded to how Millard was playing the acoustic, and suddenly the bass worked too. And it was really cool. And then the next thing you know, like they're interplaying with each other. There's all those turnarounds.
Yes.
In the acoustic, they're Immer and Millard just like completely getting off on each other once they traded instruments. Before that, it wasn't working at all. Later on, and then Immer went and put 12-string and all that electric guitar, that kind of Mark Ronson or Mick Ronson electric guitar that's on there. Later on, Dan put some more 12-string on it as well, I think, and Bryson put a couple other acoustic parts on it. He has a doubled acoustic that's kind of like Millard's on the other side, and he has this really cool kind of acoustic picking thing in the second verse that really makes the beauty of the second verse. But yeah, no, it's Immer on bass. Millard on the guitar. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I haven't asked you officially. Well, I did. I texted you, but I haven't asked you officially. But this would be a good time to play the video for that so people can hear what we're talking about. Can we do that?
The lyric video one?
Yeah.
The other one? Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's do that. And we'll be back with more from my man.
Bobby was a kid from round the town, kicks pumped up and head held down, underwater more than he was up. He dreamed submarines in bottle green, imaginary flight machines, but in blue jean flares he'd bubble like a 7-Up. Everybody wants to know you when you're the only one to know. play one more show. Plug into the buzz to shake you till it turns around. You can't stop feeling the Portsmouth suits and the elevator boots is down. You can't help feeling they want you, and you want to, with their lips on fire and your head unscrewed. But it's time to whip another change and hit one more town. Bobby doesn't know her name. He holds on tightly just the same. Sometimes one more night is all you need. I met Alice near the Alamo one summer in San Antonio. I remember her, I don't remember me. Everybody wants to know you when you're the only one to know. And man, anything to feel alive and play one more show. Plug into the buzz and shake you till it turns around. You can't stop feeling the Portsmouth suits and the elevator boots is down. You can't help feeling they want you, and you want to, with the hips on fire and your head unglued, till it's time to whip another change and hit one more town. Alice knows the secret, and she could tell you now if you want to, 'cause they want you. Do you want to? Snake and sparkle, pen and glide. It's hard to feel, and I can't get high, and I don't always understand how to smile. Man, kids get sick of being bottled up. It drags you down till you throw it up. Gotta get out of the house, take a ride on the radio dial. And everybody wants to know you when you're the only one to know. Yeah, everything that feels alive is in one more show. Plug into the buzz to shake you till it turns around. And you can't stop feeling the Portsmouth suits and the elevator boots is down. And you can't help feeling they want you, and you want to, but the kid's so clean with the soul shampoo, and it's time to whip another chain and hit one more town. Oh, yeah, it's time to whip another chain and hit one more town. And man, it's time to whip another chain and hit one more town.
That is Elevator Boots, the second song on Butter Miracle Suite 1, Counting Crows. Adam Duritz, of course, is with me. Tall Grass, Elevator Boots, Angel of 14th Street, which I watched you sing, which was a real treat for me. Bobby and the Rat Kings. I love this record because, first of all, nice job on ossifies. Using ossifies in the song. Come on.
The first thing anyone says to me is, "I can't believe you used." That was Zoe's first word when I finished the song. She's like, I sent it to her because she was, I think maybe in France right there when I was writing that, and she said, "I can't believe you used ossify in a song."
Yeah, nice job. Speaking of Zoe, so the cool thing for me is when you mention she takes the train to Paris. As you know, you guys know, and I, it's so funny because I texted her. Erin and I were in Paris that summer, that week for our anniversary.
Right.
And Zoe posted a picture on Instagram of her like 5 blocks from us. And then she did like the scooters we were doing. So when I hear that line now, it takes me right back. So thank you for putting that line in there. And it reminds me of what you always said. You put lines in there because it takes you to that place. It reminds you of the things that were going on in your life at the time. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, she had never been there before, and she was over in England with me. So she took a train, and one of her best friends came over, and her best friend is French from Canada, but from Montreal, but spends a lot of time. Her friend's mother's from Paris, so they met over there, like, and spent like a week together. I can't remember how long she was there, like a week in Paris together. So I was on my own back at the farm, and I was sort of like, it was weird to be alone again after I'd just been hanging out with Zoe.
Right.
And I was sort of thinking about it and like and also how special it was for her, because she'd never been there, and it's, you know, it's such a magical place. And she going there with her best friend, you know, the whole experience I think was really great for her.
Yeah, she was visiting the poets' grave sites and kind of crazy stuff I drag Aaron into. All right, so I want to ask you about the writing, because one of the things I found fascinating when you and I were working on the book, which by the way we should mention is going along swimmingly. You're doing fantastic work. I really appreciate what you're doing to really expand this thing. It's going to be great. But you talked about how your writing changed for Somewhere Under Wonderland and some of the work you did with Black Sun when you were working on the play. That seems to, these are storyteller songs. I know sonically they remind me of like the glam thing or Mata Hoople, which you were kind of going for. But lyrically, storytelling wise, this really is like the next step. I feel the evolution from Somewhere Under Wonderland. Do you feel the same way?
Well, yeah, I think that there was a lot of, it was like, the two things that happened at the same time that one summer. I worked a lot on Black Sun, and we went to we got invited to that playwrights conference, and we, you know, did a reading of Black Sun. All that work on Black Sun, writing for other people, and also it was either the week before or the week after Black Sun, we recorded Underwater Sunshine. So, you know, spending a bunch of time singing other people's songs and looking at different ways other people write that aren't me.
Right. And writing for characters.
Yeah. I mean, some of them do, but also just that there are different ways of just different voices in my head, and really exploring other people's styles and voices through singing, and realizing, you know, that I can sing other people's songs like they're mine. You know, like I don't have to tell an autobiographical story to be a good singer. I can, you know, I could sing these songs, which have nothing to do with me because these other guys wrote them, or I can write for characters in Black Sun. And in both cases, you know, I felt like it may not be autobiographical like your diary, but it's autobiographical as far as it's still about how I feel, you know, and whether I'm singing someone else's song or whether I'm writing songs for other characters, it's all really about how I feel, which is the important thing in my writing anyways. And I think that really, those two experiences happening like one on top of the other like that really changed my perspective on making records. And you could see that right away in Somewhere Under Wonderland. Songs like Palisades Park, which are not as first person as, you know, like Rain King would be.
Sure.
And yeah, but I think I kind of I've completely opened up to that since then now. I mean, I don't feel like I need to just simply, I mean, you know, obviously Tallgrass is still, you know, an I sort of story in a lot of ways. But
it's a great way to open the record. Great way.
But after that, it takes on a lot of different roles, and they're still all very, very me. You know, whether it's a character named Bobby in a fictional band named the Rat Kings, it's still all about like me and my experience. You know, those two songs especially, you know, they're very much about the most important thing in my life has always been music. When I was a kid, it was my solace, my refuge, the blanket. I went, you know, when, you know, music provided everything to me as a fan. And then as I grew up, I became a writer myself. I became a part of music, and now it still affects me the same way as a fan, as our podcast makes obvious, but it's also what I do myself. And so I think those two songs are very much about how music in my life in the two different ways. Bobby is from the perspective kind of a fan, and all the ways this fictional band has like provided the soundtrack to his life and touchstones to everything that's important. And Elevator Boots is from the perspective of a performer, you know, and like what it's like, that life, people passing in and out of your life, cities, towns fading in and out, and the next one always there with the next gig, that you know, the thrill of that, you know, it's still autobiographical, just not plot wise, maybe, you know.
Well, if I may, I mean, the fact that you and I are working on a book about how you grew up with music, your love of music, and of course becoming a professional musician, and with 1,000,000,001 shot of that, and then all of the podcasts we did, which I think 96 of them, you really were in a celebratory mood to talk about how much you love music and how it affects you. And that's what this record does for me. It's a celebration of what music does for us, especially those two songs you just mentioned.
I mean, in some ways, especially those two songs, it's about the different things you go through in life. Like a lot of my stuff, the ways in which our childhood and youth scar us, break us, how we have to carry that around and live with it the rest of our lives. But also, in my case, at least, the way in which music has been the refuge and the reward as well. from all that,
You know what I love about, as something falls on the ground, you know what I love about Angel on 14th Street? One of my favorite lines in there is when you say, if God is dead, I'm paraphrasing it, but if God is dead, what are we doing here? What am I here for? And then you say, did he leave the light on for me? Which I love. And by the way, Dave Drago's vocals on that.
And that song are unreal.
Incredible. But that's just such an amazing statement in the midst of all that's going on in that song. I really connected to it, and I thank you for putting something like that in there, because it does have a kind of with Angel is in the title, it has like a very spiritual, and this harkens back to some of the biblical references you made in the very first record. So I love that you have those lineages that I like to pick out in your songs. I love that line.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I got to show you something. I got it for you when you get here. Hang on.
Sure. Hey, listen, this is the insight into our relationship. This is how our phone calls go usually, and show or no show. Oh, you can see the Mellotron back there. You see the Mellotron and Felipe Molina's beautiful painting back there, a couple of them. Are you shitting me? The vinyl. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Can people pre-order that as we plug? That is gorgeous, man.
I assume so.
Thank you.
I have no idea how to do it. In the back, as you can see, it has August and everything after the orchestral version on it as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah, excited about this.
Thank you, man.
Cool as a vinyl too. It's such a whacked out cover.
I love the cover. Do you have anything you want to add on the cover before we go? Whose idea? Well, first of all, why did you call it Butter Miracle? You did tell me a while ago.
Because it's, I don't know, it just felt right.
Okay.
It just feels like, I don't always know. I couldn't explain my songs to you when I write them. Sometimes I can look back on them.
Right.
I trust that there are themes, but it just feels like the right bizarre title for this record. It's a little whack.
Who did the cover?
Beth Hochul. And she, Zoe had turned me on to her a while ago. She's a collage artist, and she's really brilliant. And so she does this great, I know a lot of people do collage art with just like putting a ton of crap on something, right. But she really is detailed about it, and about how like it's about the juxtaposition of things, like a woman standing on a lily pad watching a concert, like the juxtaposition of images that are surreal. And when I started thinking about this record and the title being Butter Miracle and the real surreal quality that I wanted to like capture with that title, yeah. I was like, she is just the perfect person to do it. I thought of it, I can't remember if I thought of it right away or Zoe reminded me, but as soon as Zoe reminded me of her, I thought, oh, that's exactly, she's the one for this, because I want it to be bizarre. I want it to be surreal and kind of twisted. And it's Hochul, Hoeckel. She's on Instagram. She's just brilliant. I mean, and boy, did she come through. I mean, I really, me, I'm like a little, our covers mean a lot to me. You know what I mean? Like I really want them to be iconic. I want them to look incredible. And we've worked really hard at that for every cover to make it. And I really love them all. And so, that's something that's really important to me. And I mean, I love the work Felipe did for us. I love Dave McKean's that incredible cover for This Desert Life. That green tint one for Recovering the Satellites knocks me out. Felipe's work, of course, is on Somewhere Under Wonderland, and what's the Amsterdam one called?
Live in Amsterdam, I think, right? Isn't it?
There's something else. There's a title to it. I cannot remember.
I'm gonna look that up. So I have a question for you while I look that up. This is Suite 1. Was that originally supposed to be there's going to be a Suite 2?
I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean, no. Originally, I mean, all I really thought about was doing this, and writing a suite of songs. And I think at some point someone asked me if I was going to do another one, and I thought, well, this really turned out. Yeah, I think so. Definitely Butter Miracle Suite 1. Because, but it wasn't part of a grand plan to begin with. Just at some point, someone said, are you going to do a second suite? And I thought, oh, yeah, I really should. That seems like a great idea. I love this one, But that may have occurred to me after we mixed it even. Like, it could be as late as when I heard it, I thought, oh, my God, this is fucking great. I mean, certainly part of the idea of writing a suite of songs was, well, it's made sense for a long time. and everyone has come to me and told me this that we work with, you don't need to release whole records. You should release a single. You should release an EP. And I've never been particularly interested in it because whether it's smart as far as the commerce goes or not, it's not what we do well. I mean, we make these worlds that you can climb into and get lost in. We make records, and that's what we do really well.
Right.
We don't really do singles, so EPs didn't seem like a very good idea. But when I started writing this, by the time I finished Elevator Boots and I had the two songs running into each other and the beginnings of Angel of 14th Street, I was like, oh, the cool thing about this is, though, that I could just do a 4-song suite, and that has a reason for being short.
Right.
It's not just, I'm not looking for something short to sell. It has a reason to be there, and I'm excited about doing it. And then maybe it doesn't have to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years between records, because I can just do a second suite. And, so that appealed to me. It was the thing I'd been resisting for a long time, but, honestly, the idea of planning a record by what the easiest way to sell it is, it doesn't seem like a way that would work very well for me. It's sort of putting the cart before the horse, but having a 4-song suite that is short, or, it's 19 minutes, it's long for what sounds like one song.
Right.
It just happens to fit into that. And in that case, it makes it a good idea to me. If you let the music determine the commerce in that sense, as opposed to the other way around. The idea of thinking about just writing a 4-song thing didn't ever appeal to me, but the idea of coming up with a suite that happens to be 4 songs and then putting it out that way, that seemed like a great idea.
The name of that record is New Amsterdam Live at the Heineken Theater or something?
New Amsterdam, that's what it is.
New Amsterdam. So, last thing, and it really what's that?
Which was the original name for New York.
Yes.
New Amsterdam was the original name for New York, and it's also the name of the bar that I was in with Marty Jones, with the flamenco players in San Francisco when I wrote Mr. Jones about. So,
but that was spelled, the new is spelled differently on that, right?
Yeah, it's spelled the Dutch way, NIEUWW or NI.
No, you're right.
UW. I can't remember if it's 2 E's or 2 U's. But yeah, that was spelled that way, but it's all the same. I think I had some idea of triple meaning in there when I wrote that.
That's cool. It really does warm my heart to hear you say that it's one of the most satisfying times of your professional life, to hear these songs finally come to fruition. Because I know how hard it is for you to go from point A to point B to C, writing these songs and getting, them to the band and everything. And now it's worked out great. You're getting great reviews for this. People are so pleased that Counting Crows is back. I have to ask you, lastly, I ask everybody who's been on the show, speaking of live, I would love to see this whole thing. I think one review said they would love to see this all live. It's so true. I remember you saying that. I think we could do this all the way through as part of like the centerpiece of a show. Last year, we were supposed to kick off the festival, which is also up in the air with part of Counting Crows tour. It's at the end. There's no way you can answer this, of course, and we've talked about it offline, but do you have any clue? You're any closer to feeling, hey, maybe we might be able to go on the road before the end of this year?
Well, I think we're closer. There was some plans to do it last fall, and of course those didn't work out. And I want to just say to everyone, I told you so. Like, there was no way we were going to be able to tour last fall. And I couldn't believe all these people that were like, oh, no, it's going to work out. It'll be fine by the fall. I don't really think so. I really don't. But I think it's possible for this fall. I still have a lot of concerns, honestly. I work in a business where they've been out of work for 2 years, whether it's promoters, agents, managers, venue owners. Everyone's been out of work for almost 2 years now. And, that's rough. And everyone's very, very excited. And I just didn't feel like a lot of people were really thinking about, like, is it actually a really good idea? Is this safe? I spent a bunch of time this year I tracked down through various friends, people who work in public health at Harvard, Vassar, Boston University, friend who works for the owner of the 76ers, and talked to a bunch of different people about, where is this at right now? And what I got from everybody is basically that it is very close to being reasonable to think about touring in the summer or the fall. At least this is what I took from all their things. Their conclusions were, some people said no, some people said yes, some people said, well, kind of, but here's the thing. And that last one is kind of where I came down myself, that I think it's reasonable to think about touring later this year, but I think you have to be really careful about indoor shows. What I hear is that outdoor shows seem very reasonable to people and reasonably safe, that it's a big difference between that and indoor shows. And
we're talking about 100% capacity now, not you going in and playing.
Music, I don't think music can't do it at half capacity. It's not like a sporting event, because sporting events make all their money from TV anyways. It's just gravy with fans there.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, what I've done is I've rearranged the tour plans we had, moved some of it earlier so we could move it outdoors. We were going to be coming through New York, stopping for Underwater Sunshine, and then continuing on for the rest of October. And I took everything after Underwater Sunshine and moved it to early August. And that enabled us to make a lot more of it outdoors. And what I'm trying to do is get the indoor stuff down to places where I feel like it's okay to do it.
Right. You're buying yourself a couple of months as well. In other words, when you got to the inside, it would probably be by the fall, right?
Well, yeah, but I'm not sure. It would be, there's a few indoor things in summer, but mostly not in August. And, it'd be September or October, but I'm still concerned about it, and it's up in the air to me. And then we would end and we would have the whole festival. I'm not as worried about the festival and stuff because it's in New York, and I feel people are much more careful and also much more likely to be vaccinated here. Like, it doesn't worry me as much being here. I'm not sure about everywhere, and that's got me a little hesitant about it still. I'm still trying to make it safer in a few more places.
Listen, we all take the burden on, and I know the people that help me with this show, like Lindsay and Barbara and Danielle and everybody that works with the festival. But, there's a lot of burden, obviously, on yourself because you open up your home to the musicians. You're prompting them to fly here. So you're kind of, in a way, responsible. You're like the godfather of the thing. And so, you have to make decisions based on that. Are people going to be, feel comfortable opening your home for garden sessions, back and forth to the venues? There's just so much to think about. And I certainly do appreciate that part of it for you, what you've done for us. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel perfectly safe about us backstage. I'm vaccinated anyways. I assume the whole band will be by then. I know Immer is. And also, we're pretty isolated backstage. It does concern me with the audience, though. And look, I know the fact is that what is solely a public health question became a political question and became very divisive along political lines because of it. I think that's a shame, and it's easy to get frustrated about it and miss the point, which is still that, like, there are people's lives at stake. I think the people that are anti-vax, are anti-mask, anti-everything, I think they're wrong, but I don't think that makes it where we shouldn't have patience with them, because it's still lives at stake. If you ask me a year from now about, and you tell me the country is at a point where everybody who wants to be vaccinated is vaccinated, then I might say, okay, well, the rest of us have to get on with our lives and have a little less patience. But right now it's only been, a few months in a new administration. I think I would like to give people time to have their minds changed and come around, because they're still, human beings and our fellow citizens. And I don't want to encourage something that endangers a lot of people, because a lot of people have already died, and we don't need any more of that if we can help it. So I'm just not sure what to do right now, because I'm trying to get it as much as possible a certain way. And then you still have to decide whether it's okay not to have it that way in a few places. And, part of what gets in my head right now is, okay, I think there's some cities where I'm not worried about it. I'm just not worried about it here in New York right now, because I feel like people are really careful and they're mostly getting vaccinated. I wish we could make a rule about vaccination in the gig.
Right.
That would be a huge problem. I don't know that we'll be able to do that. And I don't think a lot of places and municipalities would need to stand for it.
Right.
We're a very divisive country that way too. I don't know. We could probably do it with the festival, but it all concerns me right now. And it might, especially because this isn't a permanent condition. It's a pain in the ass and it's lasted a long time.
Right.
It's not a permanent condition. And is it worth the risk to just do something because we're in a hurry? I don't know. But anyways, I've made a lot of changes to this tour. I was getting ready to say no to it. And then we had some ideas and we did a bunch of things that make it a lot better. It's a lot better than it was, a lot safer. It just depends if we can get it all the way there. That's my worry.
That's great news for all Counting Crows fans. For me, I really miss seeing you guys play. And for the last time, I really miss you and hanging out. I know we text and call and all that other stuff. I miss the cats. They're probably completely grown now.
Oh, yeah, they're huge. Bastards.
And also, congratulations on your cooking thing. I know how much you love to cook and experiment, and that thing is watchable. It's fantastic.
Well, the funny thing is, it's like I had spent so much time over the last few years researching the podcast, so much time researching music and finding out music history, finding out things so that we could talk about it in the podcast. I spent a lot of time doing that, and all of a sudden, I wasn't. And, I just said to Z at one point, I don't want to wake up from this a year and a half from now, and have done nothing. Like I just laid around for a year watching TV. I'm going to start learning to cook everything. I really wanted to make a Chinese meal for our friends, and I wanted to be able to cook a Thai meal for Immer that reminded him of this restaurant we grew up with that is gone now. Those are kind of the things I started with. And and then after a few months, it's always like, we should start putting it on Instagram, like on stories, and then eventually switched it to Instagram television, IGTV, and started like editing it myself. And now I'm learning to put captions.
It's fantastic.
I don't know if I'll be able to keep it up as much after we start running the podcast, because it does take a lot of time to research, like find something you want to cook. You got to read a lot of different recipes, try and combine them into the one you want. But see if we have time for both of them.
Yeah. Well, listen, I can't wait to get back to it. My favorite thing is I got a text from Adam about 2 weeks ago, and all it said was earth, wind, and fire. Enough said.
Well, I had been like, I don't know what got me to do it, but I had this day where I asked Zoe if she had ever heard any of this stuff. I just started with That's the Way of the World, the real early stuff. Oh, yeah. I started going through it, and I was like, because that's my favorite band, one of my favorite bands when I was like 13. I was in 7th grade, Oakland, soul music, hip, like that, pre-hip hop. Listening to it, I'm like, oh my God, they're good. They're just like insane. The vocals, both Maurice White's and Philip Bailey's, the instruments, like the keyboards and the guitars and the rhythm instruments, it's fucking insane how good they were. And yeah, it's really wild. Like you listen to it and you're like, holy shit, this band is shit hot. They were like this. We're doing the podcast all of a sudden.
I smell the podcast. Yes, this is what we miss. And by the way, we have a ton of new music to play on these podcasts. We have so many friends. Adam has sung on probably 20 records during the quarantine, and he's worked his butt off on this book. Again, buddy, I can't thank you enough for the work you're doing on this book. Just it's a real collaborative effort, I think.
Yeah, I think I've added almost 200 pages now. So it's like
a good 200 pages, though.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, this is the longest one we've had, which I knew it would be. I could talk to you for the rest of the day, but I know you got to get going. And my daughter's going to take over the kitchen in a minute for a science experiment. Which
nice. Trombone and science today.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had to push.
That's great pick.
Yeah. We had to push this to 12:30 because, she's playing trombone in the next room. Well, such is the quarantine life. Sir, thank you again. Congratulations. Butter Miracle Sweet One is fantastic. I've been listening to it for a long time, thanks to you, but everybody's going to get to hear it. This comes out, I think, the 18th, so this week.
21st.
Right.
Yeah, it's very soon. It's driving me crazy. Been waiting forever, and then we only released one song. And everybody likes it, but I'm like, I want them. That's not how it's supposed to sound. You got to hear it this way. It's driving me crazy.
I edited my own version of it, but I can't wait to hear the official version. Yeah. All right, Mr. Duritz. Thank you, man.
Well, take care.
Give me a good one. Peace.
Peace out. What do I usually say?
Late.
Oh, that's right.
Let's try it again.
Cut it in.
Peace.
Late.
Yes.
Forgot. Jesus. All right, pal. Take care.
Thank you so much, man.
So there's some leather-wrapped fender strap kid with a pick finger twitch. He's got a recipe for radio rain, don't know which. In the shadows when the lights are doused, the cinder kids flare while they twist and shout. We're the sparks in the dark, that'll never go out. So when Bobby and the Rat Kings come to play, we'll make them stay, we'll make them play. I'll play till